It's Retro Movie Reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are discussing the 1986 Jim Henson classic, Labyrinth.
Yes. The one he made after Dark Crystal, and the one that so turned him off of movies that he never directed another film.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, he died like less than 4 years after this movie was released, so...
Yeah, but I guess like the fact that it like made like what, $29 million,
something like that. Yeah,
and it was pretty much ravaged by critics. So
yeah, it was, and it's one of those things that this movie I don't think people just gut.
Yeah.
Yet it is one of those nostalgia classics that actually, realistically, is held up in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Except for some of the obvious ones, which we'll get to.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Go ahead. I can bring it up.
So, I mean, if you're not familiar with the story, it's a story of Sarah, who is forced to babysit her baby brother while her parents are out, or her father and stepmother.
So it's her half brother, right?
Yes, it is her half brother. Yeah. You're going just by bloodline stuff, half brother. So she could only give half a crap.
Yeah.
And she is very, very overdramatic in a lot of things. And we are introduced to Sarah as she is doing theater out in a park somewhere with nobody else around her.
In a full gown costume.
Right, exactly. And I believe we're supposed to expect she's what, 15, 16?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there, yeah.
All right, in or around there, so mid-teens.
And we should point out this was played by a very, very young Jennifer Connelly.
Academy Award winner, Jennifer Connelly, which is interesting because getting into one of the things that did not age well about this movie is her performance.
Yeah.
She really lays it on. I wouldn't have guessed that, a decade and a half later, she'd be winning an Oscar because she just is not. She's serviceable, but not great, not good in this movie.
It varies. Her performance very much, varies from good to not as good.
Yeah, and there's things like the scene at the very beginning where she just like puts on an accent. I don't remember the exact line, but it was something where she was threatening to send her baby brother to the Goblin King.
Yeah.
And there is that great scene at the very beginning where all the goblins like, shh, she's gonna say it. She's gonna say it.
And she says something like, wait, no, that's not what we were supposed to say. we want the goblins to come and take my brother. It's very easy to say.
But it's one of these movies that she wishes her brother away. Charith, the Goblin King, played by the great David Bowie.
Oh, the very great David Bowie.
Oh my God! Takes the baby away, and then she has what is it? 24 hours to rescue him.
13 hours actually.
13 hours.
The clock actually has a 13 on it.
Okay, to get through Jareth's labyrinth and she rescue the baby. So before he becomes a goblin forever.
Right.
And along the way, she meets a whole bunch of different types of Muppet-like characters.
Mm-hmm.
And and you were treated to a number of pretty fun David Bowie songs.
I'm not the biggest David Bowie fan, but I do enjoy a lot of these songs. The thing I most love about this movie is the fact that David Bowie is in 100% from scene one till the very end.
He is invested in this. He is very much invested in this movie because, I mean, if you think about it, if Jareth hadn't come along as a role, it might have been like a 70s incarnation of Bowie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to be Ziggy Stardust for a little bit. Then I'm going to be the Thin White Duke. Oh, now I'm going to be Jareth, the Goblin King.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he provided his own costumes for this movie.
I wouldn't be one bit shocked either. The wig might have come from the Elton John house of I haven't gotten the toupee yet.
And his pants came from, look at what I got.
Exactly. Dance belts are us.
Yeah, his pants do not do much to hide anything.
It leaves nothing to the imagination
Yeah.
of Jim Henson and George Lucas. That's the thing with this movie. George Lucas is the producer on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Jones from Monty Python wrote this movie.
Yeah, he was
so
the
that actually ties into our Monty Python month. What's that?
Yeah. He was the primary writer. Yeah, I think Brian and some other people to touch it up afterwards, but he was given his like sole writing credit.
Exactly, and just like with the Dark Crystal, the character designs were from Brian Froud.
Yeah,
whose son actually plays the baby.
I think. I mean, I want to kind of save this till later, but I might as well bring it up now. Reason I kind of like this one more than the Dark Crystal is that this is much more akin to the Muppet Show, where it's got like the human hosts, the human guests, and lots of songs going on. Whereas the Dark Crystal was much darker, it was solely the Muppets, and it was much more of an experiment, I would say.
Right. The Dark Crystal is a prophecy-driven story, and Labyrinth is a departure from that because it's a girl's adventure.
Yeah.
Having a human character does add a little bit of balance to it, and yeah, the music and numbers really kind of break things up. I mean, the only real music number I have any issue with is the fire dance. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Because it narratively has nothing to do with anything. It was just felt like it was inserted in there.
Yeah, and with some pretty awful blue screen work.
Oh, it's really bad because you can see like the black bodysuits.
Yeah.
Of the puppeteers that are working behind them.
Yeah.
And do you know that Gates McFadden from Star Trek: The Next Generation was the choreographer for that?
Really?
She is the choreographer for this movie. Yes, that was her job a year before Next Generation came out.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I had forgotten that's what she had done until I watched the behind the scenes, and they're showing her like, that's Beverly Crusher.
And that's how I feel every time I watch Hunt for October.
Oh yeah, she's in that too, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
Jack Ryan's wife.
Yep.
So hard to believe Alec Baldwin played him at one point.
I still think he's my favorite Jack Ryan.
Okay, well, it certainly isn't Ben Affleck, so.
No.
But there is a lot to love about this movie. Outside of some of the special effects did not age well.
No.
Like we mentioned, the visible bodysuits on the fire dancers. There's a copious amount of matte and blue screen work.
Yeah.
But the puppets, just like with the Dark Crystal, they're spot on.
Hoggle is, I mean, if Hoggle didn't work, a lot of this movie would not work because he is a main character, and Hoggle works amazingly well.
That puppet mask is it's amazing. It's very, very articulate.
Yeah.
And he works really well. Now that's the kind of voice though. I feel like they kind of missed the opportunity of actually having Terry Jones provide that voice. He could have very well been any of the Pythons.
Yeah. Oh, dude, John Cleese would have been an amazing Hoggle.
Yeah. Some of the other puppets, Ludo's
isn't bad. I mean, Ludo's basically a Sweetums character.
He is a Sweetums. If you look very carefully, one of his arms never actually does anything. Because one of the arms is in the puppeteer is up in the mouth making it work. Next time, if you ever question that, watch Big Bird.
Yeah.
Or Sweetums. Sweetums is another one. He only has one working arm.
Yeah.
I don't remember. What was the name of the fox?
Sir
Didymus, yes.
I like him a lot.
I love that puppet. That is probably one of my favorite just all around puppets in this movie. He's just he's so cute. And they made him look enough like a fox, and the fact that he's riding on a dog.
Yeah. I would say out of all of the Muppets, like the primary cast Muppets, he is the one I could most likely see in the Muppet Show. He seems like he's was just transplanted out of that.
Yes, exactly. And that definitely, he had a lot of the absurdity that Terry Jones was known for. So, or is known for. He's not dead yet. He can dance and he can sing.
Although he's not doing too well right now.
No, he's not. He's not. But it was a great puppet. There's this one special effect towards the end of the movie where they're getting into the actual palace, and the palace doors close, and they create like this big like golem.
Oh yeah,
type creature, and that was really cool.
Oh yeah,
when they finally split them, and it's just like two guys just like trying to work the levers.
That was a very. I mean, it's weird. The usage of effects varies as much as Jennifer Connelly's acting abilities in this movie. I mean, they go from really good to not really good.
Right. Exactly. She's very much. She's just very much the weakest link in this movie, and she is the glue that ties everything together.
Yeah.
Which, if you're rating these two, it does take away points, and kind of why I'm more on Team Dark Crystal than I am Team Labyrinth.
I mean, to be fair, neither one of these is a bad choice. They're both eminently watchable. They're both very, very fun movies. It's
right, and
purely personal preference.
You can introduce them to people without having to give it the nostalgia stamp first. Like, I watched this as a child. I loved it, so you must also love it. It does stand well on its own, considering my children have seen it, and my children don't give a crap about what I find nostalgic. So,
have you showed them the Muppet Show yet?
Not shown them the Muppet Show. We did a few years ago for Scarlett, but we haven't actually shown Jamie any of the Muppet Show. That's next. It's just tough because they're so used to the movies and they love the movies.
Yeah.
But I think with Labyrinth, what makes this movie, again, it's Bowie. Bowie is such a presence and a force of nature.
Oh yeah.
In this film, it's just very hard to ignore. Really, what an underrated actor he was.
Oh yeah, I mean, he shows up. You'd be surprised how many movies he's been in, and he's really acted his ass off. He's very underrated.
The thing is with him, he doesn't choose scenery.
No,
I mean, especially like musicians that used to be actors in that time. I mean, the 80s, I was essentially, throwing my lot on Team Sting. But let's be honest. I will kill him in Dune.
Yeah, no.
It's hammy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hammy stuff. I mean, he was fully invested in playing Fade.
Oh, yeah.
But he was just like, he's a very hammy actor, and he's not a particularly good actor. If you've seen him in The Bride playing Dr. Frankenstein, he's just not great. You're casting him because of name recognition. With David Bowie, you can go all the way back to The Man Who Fell to Earth, and he's a very understated actor. There's not a lot of overacting. Even as Jareth, which screams should have been played for camp more.
Yeah.
He's very subdued and very subtle. And
I mean, like,
he never yells, he raises his voice like once or twice.
Like when Huggle and Sarah are down like the tunnels.
Yeah.
And Jareth appears before him, you can tell he's threatened. Has a very threatening presence, but never once does he like go like full rage. He's just how he moves and this tone of his voice portrays a very threatening presence without going overt.
Right. It is interesting too because he shows frustration in certain things, mainly with the goblins, because he's surrounded by idiots. But it's just the subduedness and the fact the best touch of that is the spinning glass balls. Have you ever seen how they pull that off?
No.
All right, so Bowie is not doing that.
Okay.
This type of glass ball juggling, and I'm moving my hand like you can actually see it, and I actually have 2 glass balls in my hand. I don't have any balls in my hand. But there's actually what they did was they hired a sleight of hand artist who was amazing at that, and he essentially stood behind Bowie, and his forearm was the only part visible. That's why Gareth always wears gloves, and that's not David Bowie's hand doing this.
Hey, Jim Henson, he doesn't need computers to do really interesting effects.
No, considering that there wasn't any computer animation because it barely existed back then. I'm trying to remember who did the actual music for this.
I know David Bowie, like all the actual songs were David Bowie's, but
Bowie wrote the songs, indeed.
Right.
But give me a second here. I'm pulling up. I'm gonna just refer to Dr. IMDb here real quick.
I got it right here, actually.
All right.
Music by Trevor Jones.
Oh, you know what? That was actually on the tip of my tongue, Trevor Jones. It's not bad. Obviously, the Bowie songs, are what stand out. I mean, Dance Magic Dance, is a really good song. I think the only one I'm not a huge fan of is the one that he sings in the ballroom in Sarah's Fantasy.
That one.
The Eyes Wide Shut orgy.
That is an odd scene all around.
It's, if I had watched it, because I didn't actually watch Labyrinth until much later in life. This was at like a video rental, and I must have watched it when I was more of a high schooler than when I was in junior high when the movie came out. So it would have never occurred to me at that point. But the older I get and the more awful I become, it's like, yeah, that's an Eyes Wide Shut orgy. Now, let me ask you, because we didn't even begin with this. When was the first time you saw Labyrinth?
A couple of years ago.
Really, for the first time?
Yeah, it was either last year or the year before.
I
just, growing up, when this movie came out, I was not allowed to go see a whole lot of movies.
Right.
Most movies that we saw were rented. My parents rented, and David Bowie and Tight Pants was probably not high on the list.
Exactly.
So yeah, I a lot of these, like, if they weren't a straight up Muppet movie, I probably didn't see it until much later.
Okay. Which is weird because this was very much I remember this when it came out. It's very much marketed at families.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, there is. You can show a 4 or 5-year-old this movie. There's more so, I think, than Dark Crystal. It's not as scary. In fact, I mean, honestly, for me, I think the most terrifying part of this movie isn't actually scary. It's when Sarah wakes up in that junkyard.
Yeah.
And they're like, all those characters are carrying all of their possessions on their back. And they start doing that to her, and they're just dropping everything on her. And that is actually more terrifying, I think, than actually being scared of something.
I don't know. For me, the creepiest, not necessarily scary, but creepiest moment was her falling down the hole in all the hands.
Oh,
and the hands, like, it made the
and
faces
then
and
shots.
Yeah, that part kind of was like, yeah.
Kind of like all of Heads and Return to Oz, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, I love Return to Oz. That's probably part still really creepy.
Actually, what's interesting about that, the thing with the hands too, is that they've actually revisited that form of kind of like hand puppetry in the new Dark Crystal series.
Oh,
yeah, which is, I'm watching that and I'm like, why does this look so familiar? And then just now, when you mentioned the thing with the hands, and like, hello, Sarah, I was like, oh yeah, that's what it's from. So thank you for sparking that memory.
Not a problem.
Yeah, there's really a lot to love about this movie. If I had to complain about anything realistically, the ending is so clunky. I mean, there's a point when Sarah's just trying to get to the baby, and you don't have any effect on me anymore. Or you have no power over me.
You have no power over me. Yeah.
Right.
I will say, I'm glad that her saying that, finally remembering it and saying it. I'm glad that it was very understated. They didn't like she didn't like shout it or anything like that. I was just saying it like it's just softly, matter of factly. That really made it work better. I don't have an issue with that line. The part that comes after that. I mean, not the very end is
when she's in her room and all of a sudden everyone just kind of pops up and they're just having a party at the end of in her room.
Yeah, it's charming. It doesn't really sway me one way or the other.
Right. It's just that's just how you end your movie.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I mentioned earlier about there being no CG in this, there actually is at the very, very, very beginning. The credit.
Oh yes, the owl.
There was that CG owl. Oh boy, Windows Paint was a bitch back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. They had what they had.
They had what they had. They had, they had Henson and Lucasfilm money in this thing.
Yeah.
You know what? And I've heard a number of things about how people want to bring this back. I've heard reboot, like straight up movie reboot. I've heard bringing it to the stage.
That could be interesting.
I mean, it effectively is a musical, and barring there actually being like a David Bowie anything coming out in like the next 10 years, if they're going to give him the Bohemian Rhapsody treatment, where they find an actor who can play him and they either do it as well as Rocket Man or as Bohemian Rhapsody I don't know. I mean, I think it really depends on if there's not a biopic of David Bowie coming around here.
Yeah.
You find that guy who's going to more closely emulate Bowie on stage and then just be able to just suck you in with his majesty. The only thing with that is that you might actually want to hire a sleight of hand artist as well who can sing. Because if you're going to do those balls,
you kind of have to
have somebody like walking behind you like, yep, this is my arm. My head's in your ass.
They did from like 2004 to 2010 or so in a manga, like a 4-part manga sequel series was released, and it kind of followed Toby actually kind of all grown up and coming back to the Labyrinth world. I read the first book and I really enjoyed it. They spaced out the releases so far apart that I have no idea when the second, third, and fourth volumes.
That's the kind of story I think would lend better to manga than like traditional American comics.
Yeah.
And you got to admire Brian Froud's work. I mean, in this and in The Dark Crystal, in terms of the designs, because you very much know you're looking at Brian Froud's work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everything looks different. There isn't a lot of overlap in terms of if you're going to have your elven-like characters, they don't look alike.
Right, yeah.
There's nothing that looks like Ludo in The Dark Crystal. There's nothing that looks like a Skeksis in Labyrinth.
No. The one Muppet I always loved the look of is the shield, the guys on the doors with the shields with the two heads, one on top and one on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
They just, and the characterizations of them are just so wonderfully kind of odd and goofy that I always loved those two.
Yeah, some of the like the one with the door knocker.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean that was really cool. Especially again, I mean, with HD, really kind of makes you see a lot of like the paint drips and the cracks in the latex and everything, but there's still very, very serviceable special effects, and you can still be pulled into it even 33 years later.
Yeah.
All in all, I really enjoy this movie, and I don't know anybody who truly despises this movie. I know people who haven't seen it. I've had people that just aren't interested. I mean, hell, there are even some people who probably regard this the same way I regard The Neverending Story.
I love The Neverending Story.
It's a movie.
I've read the book too.
Oh God. Yet you're here with me right now. So never ending, really?
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna drive that joke into the ground.
Yes. You and Lionel Hutz.
Yeah. I like to call him a bad law thingy.
An objection? Oh wait. I remember.
No.
I can't remember what.
You mean a mistrial? Yeah. So that was Labyrinth. Mike, do you have any final thoughts?
No. I mean, honestly, this movie is better than it deserved to do in the theaters at the time.
Absolutely. 86 was such a weird year for fantasy as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Howard the Duck came out that year. Uh, I just feel like 80 everything ended at 84. Like great fantasy ended in 84 and then you had to wait a few more years before we got it back.
Yeah.
And 86 is just one of these years where, I mean, the top movie was Top Gun.
Well, I think it was slightly over there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, so sweaty right now. So oily. Yeah, and I just feel like especially in America, I can't really speak for the rest of the world because I wasn't paying attention back then. America was not ready for this movie, and I'm very happy that if we're going to have member berries about fantasy movies that did fair to middling, like The Dark Crystal did okay. This did middling. That, if we can eat those member berries and enjoy this, these are the kind of movies that nostalgia is really made for. It didn't have a huge introductory audience, but through the wonders of home video and cable, and older siblings that might have been huge David Bowie fans. I am a David Bowie fan, so that's the my sister really couldn't have much of a leg to stand on.
Or best friends who are massive David Bowie fans.
There we go. There we go. There we go. It's all about Bowie.
Bowie.
And one more thing before we wrap up. We did this last week too, where we're like, oh, by the way, the awesome ending. The Escher staircase.
Yes.
Is just, I don't think I've ever seen any, especially at that time, anything like that before. The design of that and the way that they made it work was just fantastic, especially with Gareth like walking upside down and then like coming up onto the platform. And it was just so cool and so seamless.
Gareth or Jareth?
Oh, it's Jareth. I'm sorry. I just worked like a 12-hour day. So
fair enough.
Yes. Don't mark that in the comments, people. So yeah, but that was Labyrinth. So yes. What are your thoughts on Labyrinth? Please leave a civil comment below. Don't forget to give us video a big thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button so you get notified. We do this every week. As this week is attested, come hell or high water. We do this every week. So you can check out all of our retro movie reviews right here. There's a full playlist. You've got hours to burn. You could do it. Mike and I also host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can get us here on YouTube with all the audio for our episodes, as well as at podbean.com, geeksalad.podbean.com.
Yes.
Check us out on the Podbean app for the full archive. We're also available on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Music, and iTunes. So you can check us out there. You can follow us on Twitter. Join the Geek Salad Revolution and join us at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. I think I got it all.
I think so. Yeah, I leave that up to you because you do it so well.
Yeah, yes. I get to be the IT guy for this show. It's fantastic. So next week, we decided we're going to do Monty Python the Holy Grail.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? We just recorded our Monty Python episode for Flying Circus, so I think it'll be a good companion piece while you wait for poor Mike to drop in so many clips.
Yeah.
it is going to be a long show. It is going to be a very long show. So
yeah, before edits, we were at an hour and a half. I expect that to be jumping up significantly.
But yeah, that's beside the point. So anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. Talk to you later.